All right, you've built your pattern, got it prepared. Now you have to cut it out. But what tools do you need? I'll show you my favorites coming up. Hey, Shawnelle here, bringing you weekly videos to help you get better and better with your fashion sewing and be more creative too. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll never miss out on another video. All right, you're about to cut out a garment. What tools do you need? There's a few specifically for cutting out fabric. Number one is, number one. Well, first off, getting your directions, right? Scanning the cutting layouts. I think I'm not going to tell you that enough. And your pattern, make sure you get the right pattern size. I have a video also on that. A lot of people, they buy what they're wearing in the stores, whatever size they are, and they'll find that the pattern companies actually have not changed their measuring systems forever, or maybe not ever have. They actually go with what it really is. It's the retailers that change their measurement system. So you have to actually measure your body. That's one tool, using a measuring tape. Where do I have one of those? Oh yes, measuring tape. To measure, if it's a skirt, you want to measure your fullest part of your hip. It should be called your butt. And because it says your hip is actually not the hip bone, but actually lower, and it's the hip part. And it might say 9 inches down. I have some videos all on that too. So measure that, get the right pattern size, and then clip out your patterns, get them all cut, because sometimes they have all those, they're called grading different sizes. You'll see all the scoops and changes of, they'll have a dotted line or a darker line or little numbers that say 16 or 17 or not 17, but sizes, 8, 10, 12, that kind of thing. Get all that prepared, then get out your fabric, prepare it, and I'm going to show you the tools I use to cut all this out. Okay, first you're going to start with the pattern layout instructions. That's one really great tool. Right here, they'll tell you, it says cutting layouts, and it has the keys. It'll tell you the best way to cut it out. Sometimes you can, usually I'll look at these and kind of get an idea where they're going with it, and then I'll make up my own, or I'll just completely follow it. Like this one will say 45-inch wide fabric. Also it says with nap. Doesn't have the without nap. Nap means you got to cut them all going in one direction. If you don't know what nap is, I do have a video all about what a nap is, and I'll put it in the cards above so you can click on it. And so first off, you want to find out how wide your fabric is. The best way they're telling you to cut it out, like this says selvages, and then there's a fold, so that's what I have right here, the fold, 2 selvages. So I always kind of check that all out. Make sure too that you don't need 4 of one piece. A lot of times you'll find them on your patterns. It'll say, like this says cut 2 on the fold. So that means it's not just one. You just got 1 and 1. They don't give you 2 patterns, so you got to make room for it, make a plan for that. So pattern instructions are really important. My most important piece is this cutting board, and I am old school. I use shears and these cutting boards. I just haven't gotten used to the cutting or the rotary cutters. Actually, they're pretty fun to use, but I don't like that I have to use the plastic mat with that. Here is the plastic mat, and then it's just, I wonder if they make a big one, then might be happy, but I'll show you another reason why I don't like these. And you kind of, you get good at doing this too, but I'm actually really good with shears, so it doesn't matter really for me. But why I like these cutting boards is they're 1-inch squares, and then once you have your fabric trued up and it's torn down the cross grain, if it tears, or try to get it squared out, you can actually just line up your fabric with that, and then you can anchor in your fabric, your selvages, like on your next line right here. So you can actually anchor it in. The pins stick into the cardboard, and then you have it secured there, and then you can true up your fabric the rest of the way and get it all lined up and prepared. Next, you want your pattern, and you can even press your patterns. Right here, you can just on a low setting and get them nice and smooth, and it'll be a lot easier for you to go ahead and mark these. One of the most important things on a pattern is this line here. It's the grain line, and how you use those. I think I have a video on that. I've got so many I can't remember on these, but this is the grain line that needs to be parallel to the selvage. And how we get that is we use an L square, and what you do is you line up your ruler on one of these lines going this way. Actually, this is shorter, so I'll line it up, the lines extending out past the fabric, anchor that. What I'll do is like put a weight on that, and then actually bring this pattern down, and then I'm matching up this grain line to be exactly parallel to the selvage. Then I will pin that grain line in and lift off my L square, and then go ahead and do the rest of the pieces, and then continue on pinning right here. Now, speaking of pins, I like these longer quilt pins. They're easier to pin right here. Like, they're just, you pin to cut, as we call it in our school. You pin close to the edges. Much easier just to get in instead of the little tiny pins. If you're working with silks, you might want to use this, chiffons, really delicate fabrics. You might want to use the little silk pins. They're sharper and they'll go through a lot easier. There's also these new pins, these are called magic pins, and they're easier to grip and longer also. So you just pin, what I do is go down and scoop it up, and it takes a bit of time to learn how to pin this right, but I think if you just practiced pinning, a lot of times I'll put my middle finger down and put some weight on it, and then I scoop it up and like that, so nothing's moving, the pattern's not moving. You also don't put your hands underneath the fabric, because like you'll get it pinned down and you'll think it looks right here, but actually when you cut it, something kind of moved around, and then you have crooked stuff. You can also, I still always pin, especially like in the corners, because your shears go around right here, so I'd actually pin in the corner here, get those corners out right there. They also have these little weights. I got these at Joann's a long time ago. They're like little hacky sack things. You can make your own too. It looks like a lot of work though, but just get these. They're probably about $18 or so. You can also use washers from like the hardware store. The bigger washers are $1 or $2. I got these years ago, June Taylor, and they're dusty and stuff, but these were really great too. So you can actually put there, but they're hard to cut unless they're in the center. A lot of times I'll just lay stuff down, then pin everything, and then take all this out like that. And then when you're going to cut, I take out these anchor pins and the grain lines, because I want everything, the shears, to move all around it like that. Now, if you don't have an L square, you can use the invisible rulers. And what you do here is you actually line this up parallel to the selvage here, and then you go to, like this says it's at 10 1/4. I would anchor pin it right there, and then I do another one at the selvage, and then at 10 1/4 there, and then anchor it. So this line, the goal is to get it parallel to the selvage, and the L square seems to work the best. And you can use it on either the longer one, depending however your situation is going. Then we have shears, of course, are really important. I like to use the longer shears because I take bigger bites like this. These are gingers, one of their really good gingers. Little much harder to get used to, but I've been using them for so long it's easier. Then there's these, if you have grip problems, there's a little blade, or not, what do you call it, a lock, yeah, so it unlocks, and then they're kind of spring loaded right here, so they're easier, and they're nice and sharp. The only problem is you put them down and they're open, which I've seen a lot of little problems happen with that, but you have to always close it and lock it up to get those there. Then this is another ginger. Is it a ginger? Yeah. These are great, but these are good for littler parts. I think the blade is just kind of small. It tends to work okay. This is another Singer brand. See, the blade's a little bit longer. If you're doing long cuts like this, it's just easier to cut with longer blades. Most important thing is to get a really good pair of shears, sharp, that kind of thing. If they have any hinges in them, you're going to have a problem. Now, I also use pinking shears on any fabric that's really frays a lot, like especially linings. I just automatically go and just cut everything out with pinking shears, and it's harder to cut with pinking shears. They're usually tighter here, and you got to really open them. So I use a lot of pins along the way with the pattern when I'm using pinking shears, so that the pattern stays put. You can see right when you cut linings, or even like satins or taffetas, they just start to fray and they just drive me crazy. And if you go and take your pattern off, then trim everything, you're actually losing some of the seam allowance and you won't get the accurate sewing on there. So I like to just cut the pattern out. Like if this were fraying, I just cut with that right there. So that, I think I covered all the really important tools for cutting. Well, I hope that helps you round up all your cutting tools and helps you get on to cutting out your garments. Number one thing is a cutting board. All these measurements and squares will help you get your fabric lined up. If you need any information about grain lines, I have a video above. Also, naps. I'll put a video link here. And circles and notches. Make sure you go around and clip all your circles and notches, and I'll put a video up here also. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And happy sewing. See you in the next sew bit.